Good evening friends, welcome to PDF for Exams YouTube channel. Today is day 10 and in this video we will learn about committee as we are learning polity. So parliamentary committee is part of our polity. So in last videos we have learned about union legislative, state legislative, our union executive, state executive and judiciary system which was integrated part in a country. So we have seen that every organization or every body has their own functioning, like legislative body was responsible for making laws either at central level or at state level, having different bodies like Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha in state level, central level, and legislative assembly and legislative council at state level. Similarly, it was the case with union and state executives. They were responsible for enacting and functioning of the laws and all, and judiciary body was responsible for watching carefully that every function which is going on in the country is based on constitution or not. They were also responsible for hearing the cases of both criminal as well as civil cases. So in this video we will learn about the committee. So what was requirement of framing a new body committee when there is already a body present like executive and legislative and judiciary? They were functioning well, but still we needed a committee also. So as we know, Indian Parliament have large amount of work. That means lots of works comes in Indian Parliament. In Indian Parliament, who sits in Parliament? We know that Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha and MPs sit in Parliament. They have got lots of functioning, but the problem is that it has bulk amount of work, and that involve those kind of work involve making of policies, framing policies, and it might be very complex and scientific in nature or technical in nature. So for that very purpose these committee are needed. So and these committee are of several types, like not several, basically they are of two kinds. First is standing committee and the other is ad hoc committee. So the difference between these two committees are that the standing committee is a permanent committee, that means it is held or made throughout the tenure of government, and this ad hoc committee is meant just whenever they are required, and after the purpose is full-fledged or after the purpose is filled, these ad hoc committee are dissolved. So this is the major difference. So you can just assume these two committees, such as this ad hoc committee is like a private job. Once the employer's job is done, they can fire you, whereas the standing committee like a government job, it will be always in requirement. Maybe members can change, but this committee will be there. This committee will never dissolve. So this is the major difference between standing committee and ad hoc committee. So let's get into video and see what is there over here. So we have already classified the types of committees, standing and ad hoc committees, and on the basis of what they are framed, this is also discussed. Now there are several types of standing committee. We will study the standing committees only, because ad hoc committees are not very important and they are just formed and dissolved whenever it is required. It is used as per the requirement, and there are many ad hoc committees which have been functioning in the past, but these committees, the standing committees, always are functioning. That's why we are going to discuss standing committee in this video. So standing committee are classified into basically 6 parts. So what are these six parts? Let's see. The very first standing committee is financial committee. By the name itself, see, whatever committees we are studying, it will be clear by the name itself what is their function. So by this financial committee or by the financial committee, the name itself, it is clear whatever is matters related to finance, it will be dealt with this committee, or this committee will be responsible for those kind of functioning. Next is departmental standing committees. So as we know, our country has got several departments like agriculture, chemical, finance, education, coal, IT, information, and many departments are like that. So for those functioning, for those departmental proper functioning, 24 departmental standing committees are framed. Next is committee to inquire. Now committee to inquire, by the name again it's clear. Committee on petition, we have seen what is petition. So if you have any issues, if you file any petition in the court or anywhere, any grievances cell, so these committee or this committee will be responsible for taking care of those petitions. Next is committee of privilege, ethic committee, anything dealing with ethical or non-ethical like whistleblower and all. So those things will be taken under these committee, under the head of committee to inquire. So this is the heading, and these are the subcommittees. Next is committee to scrutinize and control. Again, by name it is clear whatever is going on in the government, whether the works are done on paper or not, whether the works are done properly or not, all whether the reservation given to certain segment are given properly or not. Committee on women empowerment. So these come under committee to scrutinize and control. Next is committee relating to day-to-day business of houses. That means there are several businesses or there are several works which has to be done regularly, and whereas there are several works which can be done by interval of time, like after 6 months, after 3 months, or by the end of the year. So those works which has to be done on regular basis, for those certain committee was to be held, and that is committee relating to day-to-day business of houses. Next is housekeeping committee of service committee. That means the member, whatever the members are joining, whatever members are going, or the responsible for the services and all. So these committee are meant for that. We're not going to read all these committees in detail because all are not important for exam point of view. Where we are going to see few committees which are very important. So let's begin with the very first committee which we saw, that is public accounts committee, which comes under finance committee, where we saw this here, financial committee. This financial committee has three committees: public account committee, estimate and committee on public undertakings. We will see these individually, starting with public accounts committee. So this public account committee, if we see when it was formed or when it was made or when it was created, so it was first set up in 1921, before the independence of India or before our constitution was framed. We have studied in first video of this polity, or day one, about all the acts which was enacted in India before the constitution was framed or before our country got independence. So one of them is Government of India Act 1919, in which this public account committee was set up in 1921 after the passage of this Government of India Act 1919. Now if we talk about the number of members, see, whenever any committee is from, number of members would be important, and those members come from which segment. So as this is parliamentary committee, all the committees which we are going to study are parliamentary committee, so it should be very clear that all members of this committee would be from parliament itself. So what are those? So as we can see at present, and this keeps on changing, it depends upon parliament. So at present there are 22 members in this public account committee, and out of these 15 are from Lok Sabha, that is lower house, and 7 are from Rajya Sabha. So this is the composition of public accounts committee, which members come from which place, and what are important fragments over here. So if we talk about the tenure, so this office is meant for 1 year. That means the members who join in this committee are to, or they have to function in that committee for minimum of 1 year. And any minister, if any minister is there, he can be elected as a member of the committee. Over here, this out of this 22 members, no member would be minister. Who are minister? Like any cabinet minister or any minister responsible for any particular department, those minister cannot be appointed as member of these committee because they will themselves have more work to do, so they can't involve over here. And who appoints these members? So they are appointed by the house itself, or else the speaker appoints the member of this public account committee. And whatever function do, whatever work they do, this public account committee, it is reported or it is given to parliament, or it is submitted to the speaker. Speaker selects the chairman, and there should be a chairman. If any committee or any group is formed, there should be a chairman or a leader who is going to head that particular committee. So in this case, the chairman of the committee is appointed by speaker, as we have already seen. And now if speaker appoints the chairman, then of course the work, whatever work has been done, will be supervised by speaker and it will be submitted to speaker. A very important function of this committee is auditing the report of, not auditing, actually examining the report of comptroller and auditor general. This is also very important office in our country. We'll read about this office in detail at the end of this video. But this public account committee is responsible for examining whatever report this comptroller and auditor general gives to parliament, or in the parliament, this body, this public account committee, is responsible for examining whether they have done their work properly or not. That means this executive is giving their work to parliament, in which committee is there, and committee is responsible for examining whether they are doing their work or not. Next is CAG submits now, and CAG, as I've said, that we'll read about CAG or Comptroller Auditor General of India in detail later, but let's see a small point which is important over here, that the CAG submits 3 reports. One to President, that is named as audit report on appropriation account, next is audit report of finance account, and next is audit report on public undertaking. So these 3 reports are submitted to President. Okay, whatever reports of the, and one more important point over here I am telling, maybe we'll revise when study about CAG later in this video. That's whatever the report related to finance, whether it is from state or it is from center, it will be audited by CAG office only. CAG is the person who audits. If you are from commerce background, or if you know about auditing, auditing is means just checking the income inflow or outflow. That means if we see a balance sheet over here, For example, 100 rupees comes over here by tax collection, and how much is spent and what is left, or what is the negative amount left over here. This is a kind of auditing which is done by CAG. Who is CAG? CAG is an office or position which is held by IAS, a very senior IAS officer held that position. So he audits the report of center as well as state, but any report, any financial report which is related to center will be represented to or presented to or given to or submitted to president, whereas if that report is related to state, it will be given to governor. Why governor? Because governor is the constitutional head of state. This we have seen in previous videos. So this is all about this Public Finance Committee. We have already seen the members, and there are certain limitation for this office. That means whoever are the member of this Public Finance Committee, there are certain limitations that they are not concerned with question of policy in broader sense. That whatever policies are made in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, they can't question about the policy, that this is good policy or that is bad policy. These members cannot give their recommendation, or they are not concerned with that. And this committee is not responsible or do not intervene day-to-day administration, as we have already seen above that there is a separate committee who is responsible for day-to-day business. So this committee does not involve itself in day-to-day business or administration. And its recommendation, in case if any recommendation is given by this public audit committee, this is just considered as advisory, not compulsory by the parliament or whoever is framing policy to be taken and use that. It is advisory. If they want, they will take. If they don't want, they won't take. So this is all about Public Account Committee. Moving to next committee, what is that? Estimates Committee. So this Estimates Committee, almost everything is same. If we see when it was formed, so it was formed in 1921. The only difference over here is number of members. Over there we saw there were 22 members, but here they are 30 members. And the most important part, all members are from Lok Sabha. No members over here are from Rajya Sabha. Every members are from Rajya Sabha. Tenure is 1 year. Appointment is done by speaker or the chairman. Whoever is the chairman of this committee, it is appointed. He or she is appointed by the speaker himself. And what is the function of this estimate committee? What do you understand with estimate? Estimation. Estimation means, for example, next year or after that, what we are going to estimate or how much money we are going to invest. Why I'm talking about money only? Because this is a part of financial committee. As I've seen, under financial committee there were 3 committees: public financial committee, estimate committee, and committee of public understanding. So this is a part of financial committee. That's why it will talk about finance only. And what is the most important function of this estimate committee? It examines every year only certain selected ministry or department. That means it doesn't examines every ministry or department every year. It does work by rotation. For example, there are 24 ministries we have seen. So it may examine 10 ministries this year, 10 ministries next year, and 10 ministries later. So it doesn't do simultaneously, it doesn't examine all the ministries simultaneously. And again, its recommendation is advisory and not binding in nature to minister. Any minister or anyone who is framing the policy or whoever is functioning, they are not bound to take advice of estimation committee. Next, its work nature is postmortem. Postmortem, when is postmortem done? Postmortem is done after a man dies. In medical science, we know what is postmortem. If any person dies, his postmortem is done to find out the reason behind his death. Similarly, if any accounts or audited accounts are submitted to president in ministry, in houses, and this committee sees the account, examines the account whether the accounting or the auditing has been done properly or not. So this is all functioning of estimate committee. Next comes the committee on public undertaking. Public undertaking, you know very well, the public sector companies, the PSUs. If you have heard about this PSU like NTPC, there are many state-owned public sector companies. So this committee is responsible for finance of those companies, or you can say those industries which are owned by publicly owned, or you can say owned by state or union government. So I'm talking about the number of members. Over here also there are 22 members as it was in first Public Finance Committee, and similar composition is here, 15 from Lok Sabha and 7 from Rajya Sabha. And term of office is 1 year, similar, the tenure is almost similar. And the examine of report of Comptroller Auditor General of Public Undertaking, and this function of this public undertaking is again to examine the report of Auditor General in case of this public undertaking companies. I missed one important point over here in this Public Accounts Committee, that the chairman till 1967 or 1966 used to be from the same ruling party. whoever is the chairman of this committee used to be from ruling party, because chairman was also from ruling party. So generally what happened, chairman appointed someone from ruling party only. But after 1967, opposite has been done. Anyone from opposite party is appointed as chairman of this public account committee. This was an important point that I left out. And whereas this estimate committee, it may be invariable, that it's not necessary that this chairman would be from opposite. Most probably it is from the ruling party only. So we have studied estimation committee, committee on public undertaking also we have seen. Next is departmental standing committee. So as we have seen that in our union or in our country, we have 24 departments like agriculture, IT, food, many departments are there. So for that, for every department, a departmental standing committee is made. And members, there are 30 members over 31 members over here, 21 from Lok Sabha and 10 from Rajya Sabha. And out of these 24 standing committees, now as we have seen, there's a few factual information you might remember. It's not very necessary, but still if you want, you can remember this factual information. It might be asked, it may not be asked, so I'm just telling you what are the factual information. So as I said, there are 24 departments. Now out of this 24 department, 8 work under Rajya Sabha, whereas 16 work under Lok Sabha. And members, see, don't get confused with this. Members is something different. There are 31 members, 21 from Lok Sabha and 10 from Rajya Sabha, whereas the standing committee, these are 24 in number, out of which 8 work, that means minimum number, less number works in Rajya Sabha and the other 16 works in Lok Sabha. So this has to be taken care. That means most of the work are controlled under Lok Sabha, because you can see majority over here is from Lok Sabha, and here also the majority of standing committee or the department is from Lok Sabha itself. So this is all about departmental standing committee. Next is consultative committee. So these consultative committee are not considered as parliamentary committee, and they are responsible for consultation. That means if any consultation is required by any of the ministry or any of the committees above, those committees can ask or seek consultation from these committees. Let's see what are the points. Consultative committees are attached to various ministry, department and center of government. They consist of member of both the houses. The minister of state in charge, the ministry concerned, act as chairman. That means whoever is ministry of state, he will be the chairman of that particular consultative committee. For example, there are 28 states, so each state might have this consultative committee, and if any issues are being discussed about that state, so person from that state would be chairman of this consultative committee. So this is all about the consultative committee. Moving to next point, Comptroller and Auditor General of India. As I said, this is very important office in our constitution. It is stated even by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who was the chairman while making our constitution. So this is assumed to be most important function. And what does it do? It checks accountability of Lok Sabha in case of money or finance. So as we know, Lok Sabha is responsible for all kind of money bill. We have seen while studying the executive part of union that Lok Sabha, all kind of money bill are initiated in Lok Sabha, and Rajya Sabha do not have any right to obstruct those bill. It had to be passed anyhow. So all the funds which are coming in from consolidated fund of country, or any funds which are coming or which has been withdrawn or which has been submitted by collecting of taxes and all, whether these are functioning properly or not, this Comptroller and Auditor General is responsible for auditing those accounts. And there are several important factors that he will not intervene in the functioning. That means whatever is going on throughout the year, he will not say anything. He can't say anything actually. He does not have any right. He just have to audit the report at the end of the financial year, that is on 31st of March. After this, the Comptroller and Auditor General Control of India audits the reports, and after auditing, he submits the report to President. President gives to Parliament, and if any issues are found, so severe actions are taken. So this is all about the Comptroller and Auditor General. Let's see what is given over here. This office is explained or given under Article 142, which provides an independent office of Comptroller and Auditor General of India. That means he is not dependent to executive or legislative, as in case of judiciary we have seen. Judiciary was also a body which was not dependent at all in any bodies, whether it may be executive or legislative. This was independent body. Similarly, this office also is not dependent or does not serve for any office. It is an independent, purely independent body. Next is he is the head and of Indian Audits and Account Department. This is very clear, as I've already stated. He is one of the bulk work of democratic system of work India. That means if whether system is democratic, democratic means what? if we have elected the government of whatever the MPs we have elected who are representing us in our central government, and if they are not functioning properly, who will take care of that? So here Comptroller and Auditor General of India keeps an eye on that, whether they are functioning, whether the money has been utilized properly or not. And how he has been appointed, the CAG is appointed by President of India by warrant under his hand and seal. That means President give the appointment letter of the CAG to any IS officer, and that particular person is appointed as CAG. The office period, so it has to be 6 years or up to age of 65 years. Now why this up to? That means maximum age is 65 years age, and the tenure should be 6 years. It should not exceed 6 years. If anyone joins office at the age of 58 years, that means he can function here till 64 years of his age. So whatever is the earlier, if any one person joins if any person joins this CAG at age of 62 years, that means he will function only for 4 years as CAG. So that's why it is given over here for 6 years or up to 65 years age, whichever is earlier. Now coming to duties and powers. So what are the duties and powers? So duties and powers I've already discussed in brief, but here let's read out. He audits the account related to expenditure from Consolidated Fund of India. What is this Consolidated Fund? We have already discussed that. This fund involves all kind of taxes that are being collected from a country. Those money are collected as a Consolidated Fund of India, and either Consolidated Fund of India or Consolidated Fund of each state and Consolidated Fund of each union territory. So these funds account auditing is done by CAG. As I've already told that there is no state level CAG. It is only there at central level, not central level actually, this is independent body, and he is responsible for auditing every funds of India, state and union territory. He audits all expenditure from contingency fund. Now we have already seen this, we are not going to repeat it again and again. And audit report submitted. Now what audit report does he submit? We have seen in the beginning under Public Finance Committee that he submits 3 reports to President. Those are audit report on appropriation accounts, audit report on finance accounts and audit reports on public undertaking. And he finally submits these reports to President, and President lays this report in front of Parliament. So this is all about today's video. I hope you understood the parliamentary committees. If you have any doubt about this video or any doubt till now what we have covered, you can always ask in the comment box. I will try to cover that topic most probably in the next video. I hope you like the video. If you like it, please share it with your friend and see you next video. So till then, goodbye.